Welcome to Rucks, Malls and Oval Balls. We're back for episode 30 of the fans' favourite rugby podcast, hosted by everyone's fans' favourite rugby podcast hosts. Yeah, that sounds about right. It's me, Dave, joined as ever by Rory. And you know what I'm going to say? Rory, say hello to the listener.
Hello listeners. Hello David, how are you? How's life sans gallbladder since I last spoke to you?
Well, I am considerably feeling considerably better. It's really quite bizarre how much better I feel.
Excellent.
So on that front, mightily pleased. It's kind of vindicated 6 months of, I won't say agony, because, you know, everything's all relative, but 6 months of discomfort.
Yeah.
I feel entirely vindicated in my decision to remove an organ from my body. But how about you,
Good.
Rory? I hear there's been a loss in the household.
We're in mourning. My sweet lady love, the fridge, has gone kaput.
Oh, no.
She's been in my life for some years now, and I'm now in the market for a new one.
Well, don't move on too quickly, Rory. Give yourself time to mourn.
I'm still grieving.
Yeah, you're still grieving, but now's the time to, you know, there's plenty more fish in the ocean, Rory. Maybe there's a Bosch. Maybe you'll find yourself one of those Smeg ones. Who knows? I don't know what sort of fridge work you're working with at the moment, Rory, but, you know, there's lots of options out there.
If I move on to a younger model, though, does that make me heartless?
Maybe tricky territory to go down. Let's steer clear of that particular area, but I'm sure whatever decision you make, Rory, will fill the gaping hole in your heart, and we'll find out. I'm sure in a future episode how things are progressing. Other than that, Rory, let's dig into straight away. Let's just go into what this podcast is going to entail. It's not going to be all fridges and gallbladders. Sorry, everyone, if anyone's got confused by that. This is a rugby.
That's a different podcast entirely.
That's our offshoot soon to come. Gallbladders and fridges haven't title pending, but yes, this podcast is actually about rugby, surprisingly, and we're going to be talking a couple of things going on in the rugby world. Lions, England under 20, there's a fair bit going on, Rory, so there's lots to cover. So it seems a bit of a shame to have wasted a minute and a half on gallbladders and fridges, but it's what the listeners like. But before we get into the meaty stuff, couple of things going on in the various avenues of rugby world, some more impactful than others. But to start off with, Rory, I want to just bring to your attention a little bit of news that came out earlier this week around Premiership Women's Rugby and a deal with the British Broadcasting Corporation, the BBC. Have you seen this? Have you seen this announcement? Any initial thoughts?
I did see this announcement, and I was initially very excited for it. Expanded broadcast of the PWR was something that I think when we were hoping to do more coverage of the PWR, one of the big frustrations was that it was difficult to actually watch a lot of it. And I was very pleased to see an announcement that they'd be expanding the broadcasts and there'd be more opportunity to watch the PWR. But you very astutely, I think, have noticed an issue with this deal.
Yeah.
Or at least a limitation. Yeah,
there's a limitation. So the positives are they have the rights to show every game of the PWR as far as I'm concerned. And they are going to be streaming one match every single round live. My issue is none of it's going to be broadcast on terrestrial TV, available to watch on a TV set in this country. It is all through the iPlayer streaming service. And I worry that isn't as accessible and as much of a market as initially I thought it was when we heard the BBC are getting the rights to the PWR. And I don't want you don't want it to be one of those things that's hidden away and is only discovered by those who know it's there to be discovered.
I guess there's two schools of thought on that, right? The one is, I guess, the traditional view that terrestrial telly creates the most eyeballs and most likely to get the most casual viewers, which I do think still holds true. That's usually holds true when it comes to obviously the Six Nations, but when they host the odd Prem game, as we must remember to call it, and the odd European game on Channel 4 or ITV or whatever it might be during the season, those do tend to spike the audiences. I suppose the other way to look at it, though, is the PWR has very much targeted a younger market and actually being more driven through the online world rather than the terrestrial telly world is possibly a better way to go about it. Now, I also suspect part of this will be a cost measure in terms of your outlay, in terms of broadcasting, infrastructure, studios, etc. And if you're online, you probably less need to do a bit of that, probably pay less for presenters, that kind of thing. But in terms of accessibility, for the people they're targeting to grow the PWR viewership, it might not be as prohibitive as maybe it seems on the surface.
Yeah. So I'm in two camps. It's either an absolute masterstroke or it's a missed opportunity, and I'm hoping it's a masterstroke. I really am optimistic that the BBC will get behind it and will promote it. So you will see some adverts for it, like around kind of some of their coverage. If that happens, I think it's a masterstroke. As long as the BBC are on board with helping promote it, I'm fine with it. Because I think you're right. I think it is targeted at the younger market. The younger, as far as I'm aware, Rory, the younger people like streaming. They like these services. They're not so much sitting in their living rooms watching telly. They're more likely watching it on their phone or on their computers and things like that. So it could be ideal. And I wouldn't mind it if the men's equivalent come up with some sort of similar deal for, free to air access as well. So they're ahead of the men's game by being readily available and free. And I think there will be like the ability to watch every single game if you wanted to. It's just it may be on catch up.
Yeah.
So that's already a massive upgrade on what is out there last season.
Yeah, let's hope. I mean, the BBC have got the rights to stream the whole or to show the whole of the Women's World Cup, which we're very much looking forward to and looking forward to covering. And hopefully, off the back of that, they'll be able to lead into driving traffic towards the PWR. Because from what we were watching last season in particular, it's well worth taking the time to look at. So.
Absolutely, it's definitely worth the watch and worth the effort to get out of your way and support. Especially if you support a men's team, just to keep an eye on the women's equivalent, if there is one.
Yeah.
And if there isn't one, say of your Bath or something like that, maybe choose another team and support them. But
Gloucester Hartbury just down the road. In news slightly closer to my home, Rory. Man versus fat news. Please.
There's been a redraft. There's been new teams picked, and I am a captain.
My God.
Of the mighty Saladsons.
I don't mind the name.
Oh,
I don't mind the name one bit.
Very happy with the name. Very happy with
David,
the name.
can you confirm or deny that you've leveraged your online podcasting media power to gain yourself prominence in the Man versus Fat world?
Well, my nickname there is Podcast. I don't think I need to say much more than that. I think I've plugged it so many times now, they're bored of it, and they're just kind of saying, okay, you just do what you want. And I think some of them will be listening. So hello to my fellow Man v Fatters who may be listening. Viva la Saladsons is all I have to say on that. But also, in a slightly more personal note, I hit my 20% mark this week. 20% of my body fat has gone.
Excellent, and not just out of your gallbladder.
No, not just out of the gallbladder, just actual willpower and effort. And also, in Man v Fat news, there is a national tournament coming. Watch this space.
Well, that's excellent news, David. Congratulations on losing the 20%, and not just by having your feet cut off.
Yeah, absolutely. It's genuine disappearance of body, not limbs. It's predominantly around the gut, which is good to know. And the other bit of rugby kind of related news, and again, very close to home, not really rugby news, but I launched this week the Rucks, Malls and Oval Balls Grassroots Gang. I don't know if you saw. And I will be honest, I was not prepared for the engagement that came off the back of it, where I've had about 150, 200 clubs mentioned and attached to that, and I am playing catch-up significantly, and I was not prepared for the admin. So for everyone that has commented and got on board with this, it is happening. It's just taking me longer to sort because so many of you have got involved, which is great.
We did not build the infrastructure strong enough to cope with this kind of engagement.
I was expecting 10 to 20, not 150 to 200. So the plans have slightly changed. I'm still going to come up with a way to try and shine a light on all of them where I can. I think it's going to be more of a kind of weekly lucky spin the wheel and pick one or two just to see how they're doing rather than keeping track of all of them, because I don't think that's feasible for, just our amateur operation we've got running here. But
yeah, within an hour and a half, we can't thoroughly review 200 clubs every week.
No, so it will be coming. Grassroots Gang is a thing, and just keep your eye on us. You may be spoken about on this podcast, and as the weeks go on, we'll see how that goes. Right, Rory, that's the formalities done, I think. Do we get into the bread and butter? Do we get into the meaty stuff?
Let's take a big chunk of meat.
Let's take
like a lion would.
Oh, absolutely. Let's go straight into the Lions. Now, again, we've spoken about this in the past. It's really tricky talking Lions on a weekly podcast format because a lot happens between each episode. And at the point of recording now, we are post the game against the First Nations and Pacifica game. Took place Tuesday morning. We're recording Tuesday evening. So that is fresh in our minds. We'll start with that. Rory, first thoughts on the midweek game. I have a few. I'm intrigued to know yours.
As a game, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought the FNP were really, really committed, really physical. I thought they scored a couple of really good opportunistic tries. I really enjoyed it. Nice little bit of spice in the game as well. It was nice to see a few of the boys in that FNP side put their hands up for wider contention. I wouldn't be surprised to see one or two of them get into the Wallabies camp, those that are qualified. From a Lions perspective, I would say, ostensibly a disappointing outing. They probably didn't play as well as they'd hoped, and less put their hands up for Test match selection than would have hoped. There would have been more than a few there that fancied their chances of forcing their way into the reckoning for Saturday. One or two, I think, still will have put their hand up for consideration, but I think possibly not as many as hoped. I mean, the ones I was really impressed with, Scott Cummins, I thought another really, really good game. Unfortunately, the fact that he didn't get substituted suggests to me that he's not going to get called up. But that would have probably only been if Joe McCarthy had been injured. That suggests Joe McCarthy's probably available Saturday.
Yeah,
but he had a really, really good game. Another impressive showing by him. Jack Morgan, busy as ever. Maybe not quite as impactful as in other games, but still around the park. He did get subbed at 50 minutes for Beirne.
Yeah.
So Tom Curry went off with an iffy-looking wrist last week. There's no news on that, but possible that Jack Morgan's forcing his way up the pecking order. Ben White, I thought again was very good, but again stayed on for the full 80.
Yeah,
probably going to be his last shout, barring injuries. But I thought he really good again. I think he's really impressed since he turned up on tour. Obviously, it's still a shame for Thomas Williams that his tour was cut so short so early. But Ben White's done really, really well since he came in. So another good showing for him. And everyone's favourite pantomime villain, looking like the best player on the pitch, frankly, as far as I'm concerned, Owen Farrell. Fantastic, I thought.
Yeah, so I
probably the best player in the Lions shirt.
I do have a point that I want to ask around Farrell. I thought the Finn Smith-Farrell 10-12 axis looked quite efficient. It looked like it was working in parts. Obviously, I'm not saying England go down, because last week we spoke about how Spencer and Ford seemed like a good option, but that Finn Smith-Owen Farrell relationship where they were kind of swapping between 10 and 12 seemed to work quite well.
Well, the thing with Owen Farrell you get very good decision making. You get really good skills. Some of his pullbacks from taking the line, very reminiscent of Seb Atkinson a couple of weeks ago for England against Argentina. Now, bear in mind, Seb Atkinson is a natural out-and-out 12. That's bread and butter. But Owen Farrell showing every bit of his ability to play in that position. Very physical, putting some nice big hits. Got right to the front of the spice when left wing, is it Dalgunu who took on Darcy Graham, got binned for it? No, Riley, sorry.
Riley got binned for that one, yeah.
Binned. Farrell was the first one in to start the shove-in.
Yeah.
Some great kicks. That chip over with his left foot, not even his natural foot to
for Osborne's try.
Put Jamie Osborne in.
Yeah, that was nice.
Really good. Yeah. If there's any doubters, particularly on the Lions in the Lions fan who still think Owen Farrell shouldn't have been called up. And there was a doubter on this podcast. I might mention.
I still stand by my reasons. I still stand by my reasons, but I stand by my reasons that his call up to me didn't make sense. But the fact that he's performed well is fine. I'm not going to retract my reasons for the call up not necessarily feeling the right one. But I can't deny he's not had a good game.
Those of us in the Owen Farrell fan club demand a retraction.
Well, you can keep waiting.
And with Marcus Smith going up with what looked like a headbang, and Finn Smith, if we're honest, not having his best game, actually, I think Owen Farrell could well make the Test 23.
Versatility-wise, he offers a 10 centre option. I wouldn't be surprised if he was in the 22 shirt, if I'm honest. Based off of that game, you can kind of... I wouldn't be upset by it, as much as I don't think he necessarily warranted the selection call-up. That performance and the fact that he's proven his fitness, I'm happy. That's as close to a retraction you're going to get.
I'll take it. I'll take it in the spirit with which it was meant, which is an absolute retraction and a vindication of my opinion. I just thought he was just absolutely solid in tying together that back line, which at times looked very good and at times looked very clunky. And unfortunately, I think Finn Smith hasn't really had his best tour, all in all, in terms of running the back line the way that we've seen him do in the past. And I don't know whether that's because of the way that Australian teams have been defending him. They're very aggressive on the outside. They're shutting down a lot of space out wide for him, and he's having to cut inside a lot or resort to a grubber kick, which at this point, he might need to retire that for a little while because not a single one has come off.
Well, I don't see him doing that as many as that at Franklin's Gardens, so that's fine.
No.
And I'd still support the fact. I think he was the top, if not the top tackler, one of the top tacklers again. I think defensively what you get with Finn Smith is still top draw. So,
yeah, absolutely. But I think what we do know, and I'm not going to just sit here and dig out Finn Smith because I still think he's a very, very good player, and we know how good he can be at unlocking a backline's potential. We saw it when he came into the 10 shirt for England, but on this tour, for whatever reason it might be, he hasn't been able to do that.
Yeah,
particularly with the ball in hand.
Yeah, I think we said last week or the week before that I'd identified that the way the Australians were defending was definitely cutting his options, and it just didn't seem like just wasn't clicking for him.
Yeah,
I still rate Finn Smith incredibly highly. I'm not overly. I'll say his performance 6 out of 10. And I think that's across a lot of players. Just put out 6 out of 10 performances, not just.
Yeah, I think that's probably true.
And I'll go as far as saying like Henry Pollock, another one that I rave about, not his best game. Another 6 out of 10 maybe.
Has this tour finally shown the challenge that Henry Pollock can't automatically surmount just through sheer determination and shithousery? Because, and I say, again, I'm not going to sit here just to dig out individual players on every performance because I don't think that's worthwhile, and I don't think actually it's that reflective.
No.
But I also think it's fair to say that Pollock's had some really, really good moments, but hasn't quite had the impact on tour that maybe we hoped in all the games. And that's not to say that every performance is bad. Some of them have been very good. He's had some really, really good moments and shown what he can do. Yeah,
I don't think he's been able to impose himself as much as he has done, or we've seen through the season.
That's the bit. I think and maybe that's just the nature of being in something like a Lions environment where everyone is the best international in their position in UK and Ireland. It's just that much harder to stand out than it is in even a European semi-final.
Yeah, all I know is, and this is for Finn Smith as well, I think those two players will improve significantly off the back of being in that environment. So, like, the amount they're going to take home from this tour, I know that they're probably both going to be quite disappointed that they're probably not going to be getting test caps, but they will be bringing so much more than that. So, like, as a completely biased Northampton Saints supporter, gutted for them if they don't get test caps, but I completely see that they'll come back with so much more experience and a bit of a wider awareness that'll stand them in such good stead going forward.
Absolutely, and I think there's every chance they're both future test cap Lions. They've got time as well on their side for that. But and to be fair, you're right to point out there weren't that many really impressive performances on the Lions side. I mean, Blair Kinghorn had some nice moments, but through the intercept pass, got caught in the backfield a couple of times trying to run it back and put some people in blind alleys.
Yeah.
Desperately upset for Darcy Graham. He looked absolutely gutted when he came off. I just wanted to just give him a cuddle.
That was like, if anyone questions how much these tours mean to the players, just watch that moment of him having to come off the pitch after 17 minutes in tears because he knew, albeit how slim his chances were of a test cap, he knew they were gone, and that was enough for him as an emotional moment to really get him. And like
you could just see it, couldn't you? It's a shame, but. Yeah, I mean, I don't expect more than one or two to maybe force their way into the test. I think Farrell could well do. Cummins possibly if McCarthy doesn't make it, but we'll see. Jamie George, possibly, I mean, the line-out struggled a bit, but I just felt that was because they seemed to really overcomplicate the line-out moves.
Yeah, I also think it's very hard when you're a hooker coming into a group and having to learn all these calls with 2, 3, 4 days of training. And they were quite complicated moves with some really intricate timing and kind of switches. So
it's just too much. It's too much. It's like lads, it's a line out. It's not choreographed swimming. It's not synchronized swimming. Let's just crack on with jumping up and catching it.
I'd personally have him in the 16 shirt, and that's just because I've not been overly enamoured by Kelleher's performances.
Yeah, well, I think he's possibly struggled more than he has struggled at the line-out more than any. But
yeah, should we move on? Should we move on to the tests?
Let's talk about the test. Let's talk about the test. Yeah. Well, for me, this boiled down to probably Finn Russell's brilliance.
Yeah.
Once again, and Joe Schmidt getting it completely wrong with selection. I think.
Yeah. I don't think that's
just
harsh.
Up front. I mean, no, I say again, not to dig out the players that Australia put out, but the power and weight dynamics between the two packs was so obvious.
Yeah,
especially. And you look at the players. I mean, that first half, they just couldn't handle them. Dan Sheehan was getting lots of lovely breaks, off and off the back of Finn Russell, which is always lovely to see. Conan, very effective once again. I just think it's the power of the moustache. I think if you go on a Lions tour, I think it maybe should be mandated you grow an RAF star moustache.
I would love that. That would be perfect.
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
We'll start campaigning for the next tour now.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. We want 100% tashes across the board.
Mm-hmm.
Although not in the same style as Marcus Smith's, because that's horrible. Two players who completely vindicated their selection, Tom Curry and Tadhg Beirne.
Big game players.
Big game players, test match players.
Yeah,
As it turns out, if you pick test match players, they perform like test match players more often than not.
Yeah, it's funny.
They were brilliant.
They were
funny old pot. Almost as if Andy Farrell has got more insight than your average punter on Twitter. It's a funny old world, isn't it?
It's a funny old world that he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. In the first 5 minutes, they'd both had put such a stamp on the game. I was like, oh, that is so... That's so vindicating for Andy Farrell. I bet he was like, oh, I'm so glad that's happened because it's completely shut the doubters up.
It's just so good. So good. And whose try was it where Curry nicks it at the back and sets them down the right-hand side? Oh, it was the one where Curry bloody passes it to him in the end as well. Sheehan, after half-time.
Yes.
Yeah, steals the ball over the top, makes the break, offloads it, gets back out, work rate to get from there back into the line to catch and pass it and put Sheehan in the corner. Just fantastic. I mean, work rate, you can't train.
His work rate is unreal. Like, it's like people always like, oh, I don't get the deal with Tom Curry. Just watch it. Just watch a game if he's playing in for 10 minutes. Just watch solely him. The ground he covers, that stat they showed at the start about how many rucks he hits, he hits 90% of rucks in defence. How? I've played rugby and I always aim for when I've played rugby and I was 1 in 3 maybe. And that's in the first half. Second half, I'm lucky I'm hitting 1.
Yeah.
It's unreal. I just don't. You really. it's really nice that they've justified their selection, and hopefully, yeah, as you say, Tom Curry hasn't picked up too much of a knock, but he does seem to always play with a significant amount of bandaging and strapping.
Yeah.
So
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised to see him play Saturday, regardless. But no, I thought they were both brilliant. I thought Tadhg had his best game on tour, and he saved it for the Test match. So absolutely fair play.
Do we talk about the elephant in the room? And that is what I'm describing as very ineffective bench.
Well, I was going to say I think that's unfair. It's probably not unfair, actually. They just took their foot off the gas in the second half, really, didn't they? That's the long and short of it. They scored that fourth try on, was it 41, 42 minutes? And then pretty much took their foot off the gas and just absorbed pressure. They were very lucky that the Wallabies were so underpowered because a more powerful team with a more experienced fly half probably gets them back into the match with the way that the Lions played in the second half. The discipline was really poor. But, I mean, they were just fortunate that Tom Liner, and I sympathise because he was on debut or starting debut, and he just really struggled to get other people. He ended up getting snagged with the ball, wasn't getting his centres, barely got Suoli or Ikitau into the game, really, given how dangerous those two are.
I struggle to remember many impactful moments from Suoli, which it doesn't often happen. Now, do you credit the Lions' defence with that, or do you hold that up against the fact that Australia just really weren't up to much?
Well, I think they targeted Liner. I think they absolutely sent the back row after Liner and made the game as difficult for him as possible. But you still have to find a way to get those kind of players in the game somehow. I mean, when they did get Suoli in the game, he almost scored that try off completely legitimate. If it went for a completely legitimate Beirne tackle that definitely used loads of arms.
Yeah. There was nothing wrong with that tackle whatsoever.
Nothing whatsoever. Nothing to see here, officer.
Much like the Tom Curry tackle in the air.
Nothing to see here, officer. It's just a bit of missed timing. He definitely didn't decide to cut him in half whilst he was flying in the air. No. Yeah, possibly a couple of fortunate decisions, but, let's not give too much fuel to the Aussie fire.
No, because we all know too well how sometimes karma can be quite significant in rugby. In 1 week, it can work in your favour. The next week, it may catch up with you. And we've got 2 tests to go.
Absolutely. But ultimately Australia just struggled with the ball for too long, and it wasn't really until they got McDermott and Donaldson on at the halfbacks that they were able to exert any pressure.
Yeah, I was not impressed with Gordon in the 9 shirt at all.
No,
it just made me take the question: where's Nick White?
I honestly, why they're not starting Nick White, I don't know. He's one of the best 9s in the world still, I think. He's certainly
he'll take a lot of pressure. He'll take pressure off of Liner as well because he's got a good old boot 100%.
On him. Well, apparently Jake Gordon's was picked for his kicking, but I thought his kicking was pretty poor. Given how much the Lions have struggled under the high ball,
they were all way too long. Not buying that one.
Yeah, it was a disappointing performance from Australia, realistically. And they scored a couple of tries reasonably late on when the Lions were relatively comfortably in front. But ultimately, the Lions looked significantly stronger than them. And unless they find a way to get in some big ball carriers, I mean, I'd start Angus Bell. If you can bring back Skelton, do it. I don't know if Rob Valentini is going to be back, but if he is, bring him back in straight away.
The noise I'm hearing is that both Skelton and Valentini are fit.
I'd start them.
You have to. Both. Have to, yeah.
I'd bring Taniela Tupou onto the bench to replace Al Alatoa.
Yeah.
I would consider picking Uru, who played 6 for the FMP today. If he's available, I'd consider picking him onto the bench as well.
There's a nut like Salakai Lotto. He was physical.
Salakai Lotto. How that guy's not getting a Wallabies cap, I don't know, because he looks a monster.
And he's played against the Lions like 4 times already.
Yeah, he couldn't be proving any more how keen he is to play in this series.
No, like every team option he's been offered is like, I'll play. Yeah.
Who have we got signed for? Yeah, fine.
Yeah. No, so him, Uru, Gamble again, absolute pest at the breakdown.
Yeah.
Let's just pick the Australians from the FMP team. I think they would do a better job than what was put out on Saturday.
Well, they'd certainly be more physical.
Yeah.
Certainly be more physical. But I mean, we should praise the Lions for the first half performance as well.
Yeah.
Ellis Genge, I thought was fantastic.
He's been down the gym, isn't he?
Oh, he's looking big.
He's beefing up a bit. He's obviously shifting some timber, and he's looking strong.
You can just see how much he wants this.
Yeah.
You can see how important it is to him. He's really taken he's got the bit between his teeth this tour, isn't he? No, I thought Genge was really good. Dan Sheehan was fantastic. Tadhg Furlong was fantastic. I thought Tadhg and McCarthy were both really, really solid. In the second row, McCarthy very unlucky. He didn't get a better kick from Russell for a spectacular crossfield.
Yeah.
The whole starting pack, to be honest, were brilliant, particularly in that first half.
Yeah.
Gibson, Park and Russell cut above. We thought the halfbacks is where the real difference maker was. Now, it wasn't the only difference maker, but they were significantly stronger than their opponents.
They were a class above their Australian counterparts for sure, and there's a reason why those two names have probably been on the team sheet from day one of the tour, and they showed it. It's the experience, it's the class, it's the know-how.
Yeah, 100%. I thought Hugh Jones, again, getting involved, a couple of nice touches with the ball. You could probably argue that the wings, not so good. Some good. I think criticism has been harsh. There were some. I mean, they kicked badly. Both of them kicked badly on a couple of occasions.
Yeah, which for James Lowe is quite a rare occasion. So that's usually his one thing that he's generally exceptional at.
That's a big USP for James Lowe. And to be honest, Tommy Freeman's a good kicker, generally speaking. But that was the bit where they really struggled. I thought they both got involved in phase play pretty well, some nice touches where they could get it. But you could easily argue that they didn't have their best games. But then also,
I don't think much opportunity came that way in the game plan.
Not masses. Yeah, not masses. I mean, I think once the Lions identified that they had to go in up front, they didn't really bother going wide as much. So fair enough, really.
Yeah, exactly.
Hugo Keenan, I thought a very solid display. You got basically what you expected from him. You obviously don't get the impact that you might get from, say, a Blair Kinghorn who's flying, but he did pretty much everything you'd want him to.
Yeah. So are we expecting, or would you like to see any changes to that first 15 for the second test?
Assuming they're all fit, I would keep the first 15 basically the same.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any obvious changes to make, really. I would bring Owen Farrell onto the bench actually for to cover at 10 and 12. Now, whether that means you still need Bundyaki on the bench or need Bundyaki and Tuipulotu both in the squad, maybe that changes things. But
I suspect we might see a Farrell Kinghorn 22-23.
That wouldn't be, because I think Kinghorn proved his fitness, so I wouldn't be surprised to see that.
And that covers shirts 10, 12, 13, 11, 14 and 15 with those two.
Yeah.
So
I mean, actually, it does make a lot of sense as a call. So that might be an obvious change there. If McCarthy's not fit, I expect Chesham to start either in 5 or 6, depending on where Beirne goes. So that maybe gives an opportunity for Jack Morgan or Van der Fleer to come onto the bench.
Yeah.
Or even Scott Cummins, who again I think was really, really impressed. But barring injury, I don't expect any changes there. And I mean, assuming I think if Marcus Smith went off with a concussion, I assume that means he's pretty much ruled out a Saturday.
Yeah. Returns. Yeah, the protocols would prevent him being able to play on Saturday. I'm certain.
So I think that makes that case for it. And look, I mean, I personally would be very tempted to bring Jamie George in for Kelleher, but they may not this week. But I wouldn't be surprised to see some changes the week after if the line-out falters
again
the way it did when Kelleher came on Saturday, because it is noticeable. It's a noticeable drop that the line-out seems to go to a shambles pretty quickly.
Yeah, that does seem almost too obvious of a change in my eyes. But again, I have been quite vocal of my lack of understanding on Kelleher's selection. But we won't dwell on that, Rory. 2-0. Is it going to be 2-0 after this Saturday?
I'm willing to reserve total judgment until I see the Australia team. If they pick some lumps, then I'm a bit more positive on their chances. But yeah, probably 2-0. I said before that I thought there's a good chance it'd be a 3-0 series, and I haven't really moved past that.
Well, imagine that. I think it'll be the first time in a very long time a Lions tour going completely unbeaten. It'll be quite something if we do.
Well, I think the only game they would have lost was Argentina in Dublin.
Oh, I forgot about Argentina. I put that one behind me. Behind me, Rory. Well, we'll see. Well,
but it would be only the second time they've lost their first match on tour and gone on to win the tour.
There we go.
That's a nice little fact there for you.
Nice little fact, and I do like a fact. Well, we'll talk more Lions next week, I'm sure, Rory.
Sure we will.
Now, have you been able to recover from watching England versus USA? Because we're going to move on to that game next.
Yes, I think I can cope with that.
And there's a few talking points, some of which nothing to do with rugby.
So, can I address the commentary?
Yes. First of all, I want to say, Roy, I'm still undecided whether I absolutely loved it or I absolutely hated it. I still haven't decided.
So let me contextualise this. I was at a friend's engagement party all day Saturday, got back in time to watch the game. And on Saturday night, having had a few drinks, some of which I had with Chris Chesney, actually used to play for Saracens.
Oh, fantastic.
Who's a very nice man, but enormous, and looks a little bit like the Liver King now. But by the by.
Well, I hope you told him about the podcast, Rory.
I did. I'm sure he'll listen. So I came back on Saturday night having had a few libations on my Saturday, and whilst a little pissed, I found the commentary utterly irritating.
Okay. I wondered where you were going to go with that.
Because I woke up the next morning to find texts I'd sent to other people talking about the overpronunciation of Cunningham
and Langdon.
Yeah. However, because I had been drinking, I fell asleep during the first lightning break in the first half.
Oh, very good. Very good.
So I had to watch the game back on Sunday whilst admittedly a little bit dusty, but much more sober than I had been the night before. And I didn't mind it. I didn't mind it at all. I thought they were actually really good. And given that the commentary was, I think it was CBS, so it was for an American audience. We just happened to be getting that same feed. There wasn't an English commentary team there.
Yeah.
So it was an American commentary for an American audience. You can textualize it from that point of view. Actually, it was pretty good.
I'll tell you what, they're really good at kind of selling what's going on and trying to explain how each thing's really important. They were talking about how important scrums were. Oh, the importance of getting your line out right, and they were you couldn't knock how emotive they were trying to be with their commentary.
And knowledgeable. They were knowledgeable as well.
There were a few moments where
knowledgeable than you'd have thought.
Yeah, there was a few moments where I thought, oh, there's a script, when they got Trevor Davison and Gabriel Ogre confused. But that happens.
Very early on in this podcast, we pointed out that Lawrence Dallaglio can't tell the difference between Max Jomomo and Ollie Lawrence. So let's not suggest that more experienced commentators are immune to this kind of thing.
That is very
I will admit that Gabriel Ogre and Trevor Davison are a little bit more distinct, but certainly an understandable mistake from a commentary point of view.
No, but I do think it's just because they're operating off of numbers off the back of shirts. I think they probably don't watch these players week in, week out. They'll probably just misread the number on the back of a shirt and on the notes in front of them.
Tell you who they definitely do watch week in, week out, and that is George Ford.
Oh, the master. That is George Ford with 102 caps.
They love George Ford almost as much as I do.
Almost. I also thought that they must have had Chandler Cunningham-South of Harlequins in bold on their notes as well, because they mentioned that a fair few times. He did have a good game.
To be fair, he had a good game.
He had a good game.
He was good.
Before we get into the game, do we talk about the inclement weather breaks?
I have a concern because this happened in the football as well. I think if the USA is going to be constantly bombarded by deadly lightning storms, it might not be a brilliant location for a big international tournament with lots of people travelling from all over the world and paying a lot of money to be there.
Yeah.
And causing,
it's going to cause scheduling chaos as well. Like, I think their rule
I mean-
is if there's a single lightning bolt spotted within a 10-mile radius of a stadium, they stop the game for 45 minutes.
Look, lightning didn't stop me walking from the train station to my flat yesterday. Admittedly, I didn't have a huge number of options, but why should it stop the Americans from putting on a sports game? That's what I want to know.
Well, there's also the fact that for the entirety, because I was sat just watching the stream because I had nothing else to do, there wasn't even a speck of rain, let alone a bit of lightning. For the entirety from when the supposed kickoff was supposed to be to when the game ended 3.5 hours later, it didn't even rain, let alone lightning and thunder.
And they also, if the lightning's so dangerous, they didn't evacuate the 20,000 people on the stands exposed to all the elements.
Yeah.
So I don't understand. What's the priority here? Just the guys in the middle?
Basically, yeah. Player safety is the utmost importance.
But not supporter safety.
No. Yeah, what's the word?
If the players have to come on to 20,000 people fried to a crisp, so be it. But we'll get them back in the changing rooms.
Oh, yeah. How about the game, Rory, before we get into too deep of an anti-US stance?
I'm not anti-US. I just think that this mythical time in the future when the US suddenly becomes an avid rugby nation is unlikely to happen, and maybe we should all just stop trying to force it.
They've got the World Cup in 2031. So
I know. I mean, let's not suggest that sometimes countries get World Cups for things other than merit. You know,
I don't know what you mean.
Look, I'm sure Qatar was a really nice place to play football. Anyway,
Stadiums, yeah.
Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. The game itself. Broadly speaking, I enjoyed it. I thought a few players put their hands up for consideration. I was really impressed by Cunningham-South. I thought Guy Pepper was very good. I thought Alex Donbrent had a pretty good game. I thought Van Poorvliet was pretty solid as 9. Scored a nice try. George Ford, brilliant once again. Just absolute mastery of the ball. Max Jomomo was probably a bit of a standout for me.
Yeah.
And
not for the American commentators.
Yeah.
They didn't say his name until the 70th minute.
Yeah, well, you know.
I think that's because they don't want to risk it.
I mean, you know, I don't put that entirely on them. You know, they're not Delalio. No, I thought he had a really, really good game. I thought some really nice touches with the ball. He, you know, was praising Seb Atkinson for that kind of pullback at the line against Argentina. I thought Jomo did exactly the same thing very well. Really knits the play together very well. He does have that ability to step in as a second receiver because he has played a little bit of 10. You know, he has got that skill set to tie a backline together. So I think he showcased that brilliantly. I thought he put some really good hits in defence as well. Some really good defensive reads. So I think Max Jomomo and Seb Atkinson have both on this tour put their hands up for starting at 12 in the autumn. Serious
credit in the bank, I'd say.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, arguably they could play 12-13 depending on who's available. Both really, really good. So I was pleased with them. Joe Carpenter, I thought, was very good as well. Good counter-attack showcase. I'd forgotten how young he was. Only 23.
Yeah.
I'd forgotten he was that young.
He's a young one.
So it feels like he's been around a long time. But I thought he was really, really good again. His counter-attacking is such a weapon, you know, and he's so safe under the high ball. There was one spectacular diving catch that the commentators really leapt on, to be fair to them. You know, I think compared it to fielding in baseball, which is a lovely little touch of commentary for an American audience, because that's exactly what it looked like. It was a really good take in difficult conditions, actually, because
very humid.
Farrell Boso dropped a sitter in the first half, which I was thought, you know, maybe people are going to pillory him for this. And then reading some of the reviews of the game, someone described it as an atmospheric soup, which is a lovely very description visual. Of England weather. You realise quite how humid it must have been and how slippery the ball must have been, because there were quite a few handling errors, really. I forgive Farrell Boso for that.
Yeah.
But no, I thought Carpenter did a really, really good job there.
Arthur Clarke, Rory. Come on, Gloucester boy.
Okay, I do want to talk about Arthur Clarke. He was robbed of a belting try in the first half by let's be honest, flat pass. It wasn't forward. Should have just been given the try.
Yeah, allow it through. There should be some sort of dispensation to front five forwards. I think that should be an extra metre allowance.
I believe so. And what I like about Arthur Clarke is he's so much more mobile than his physique would suggest.
Yes.
Because he's 6'9", something like that.
Yeah.
He's a big lad, but he's so much more mobile, gets around the park so much better than you'd expect for someone that size. And admittedly, it's not always in the most gainly fashion, but he gets there and he's effective every time he does. And he puts some massive hits in defence. When he hits you, you stay hit.
Yeah, you do.
And he carries hard as well. He's just someone that size, just this sheer momentum either side of the ball. Once you take contact with him, you are more often than not going to lose that physical battle with him because he's just such a big lad.
I thought his set piece work was good as well. Consider it's not often something that goes hand in hand with being the big bulky lock. He's pretty good in the line out as well. Yeah,
he's quite springy actually. And he's got good hands. He distributes well. So I wasn't surprised that he didn't get a shot in the test team, but I do hope that he's built up a bit of credit to keep getting called back into squads, so eventually will get that shot. Because actually, again, very young. I think he's about 22 or something.
Yeah. I mean,
21, 22.
And that's young for a forward, I'd say.
Yeah.
There's a lot to come still from him, I think.
He's filled out a lot already in the last couple of seasons, and I suspect he'll continue to. You're looking at a frame and a physique that, if you look at a more established international, would be something like an RG Sneeman, that kind of dap.
Yeah,
he's
filled out and framed rightly. No reason why he couldn't be that sort of player.
So, if he can go on to develop into anything like RG Sneeman,
I'll take it.
Yeah, you would, wouldn't you? And I hope it does, obviously, from a Gloucester perspective. But from an England perspective, that's the sort of player they've actually probably lacked since Simon Shaw.
Yeah, probably. Just that massive, lumpy, just gigantic lock, like a Danny Grucock.
Yeah.
Just an absolute lump. But
and
ball.
Yeah. Yeah. What you want is a giant baller in the locks. And actually, if someone like Sneeman, Simon Shaw back in the day, and Arthur Clarke, hopefully in the future, you become pretty undroppable pretty quickly with that kind of skill set. So good signs to come for him. And I was really pleased for him to get his cap because Gloucester players don't often get caps, and it's nice to get someone picked for once.
Yeah, it is nice to know that you're capable of getting caps if you are this side of the country.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
That's nice. Well, maybe it's a start. Maybe there's I think there's a couple of players from Gloucester that will be very much more in the equation now. Like Seb Atkinson surely played himself into the conversation. Surely he's got to be.
If he's not playing in the autumn, I'd be amazed. Assuming he starts the season as well as he ended it for Gloucester, and they're playing as well as they were, I'd be amazed if he wasn't back in that 12 shirt for England just on the performance of this summer.
Yeah, I don't disagree, and I'm still gutted that we've been robbed of seeing what an Atkinson-Dingwall centre partnership may look like, because I still think there is something in that partnership that could work really, really well. But we didn't get a chance to see it this summer. Overall thoughts on the summer tour of England, Rory?
I mean, it's virtually flawless, isn't it?
Every box.
Coaching team, really well. Borthwick comes out massive credit for this tour. Obviously, the fact that he won it 3-0 for one thing, but he's blooded some really good players. He's worked on some combinations, picking up Lee Blackett and Byron McGuigan and integrating them into his coaching team so quickly and getting results in both of their areas. Now, you could maybe argue that if you're Richard Wigglesworth, you should be looking over your shoulder pretty quickly, but ultimately, in terms of from an England coaching perspective, great news to have those kind of guys in the wings to step into the coaching unit. They've blooded some really good players. They found out who's a potential test team player.
Yeah.
And I reckon there's 4 or 5 players who've put their hands up to get a starting England shirt, even when you consider who's coming back from the Lions, which is everything you want.
That's what you want from a summer tour, isn't it? That's what you want.
That's all you can ask for in the Lions, is for players to step up. Yeah.
Build the depth. So a couple of points to talk on, I think, before we move on. One, what were your thoughts on the optics of that England scrum going backwards?
Well, it was obviously quite surprising. they got properly shoved off. I actually, when they went to the replay, one thing I noticed is Dombrand doesn't stay in the scrum. He sits off it. And then as he sits off, there's another shove, and the weight of the USA scrum really comes back into it. That being said, at the next scrum, England massively dominate and win the scrum penalty. So what I would probably put that down to,
caught off guard,
is, well, I think what it actually is down to is a little bit naivety from Dombrand, but also probably from a poker for jour. So you got to remember, one of the things that comes with experience and why props age better, as you and I have proven over the course of the last 6 months, even on this pod.
Yeah,
the experience of knowing how to hold a scrum, even when it's your numbers down or struggling, only comes from having done it. And I suspect what happened is a poker for jour either got it wrong or took his foot off the gas at the wrong moment, and the USA scrum just took advantage. And again, it just comes from experience and from repetition. So they learned from that well enough to win the next scrum penalty. So
yeah, so not
great moment
not a concern. Not a concern for you though.
Not a long-term concern, no.
Okay,
a good learning moment for poker for jour of knowing in international rugby, even against a team ranked 16th, if you switch off, you can get beasted pretty quick.
Yeah,
and that's a lesson I would think he'll take with him.
Yeah, I think, and the lesson there is that even if you consider your opposition being a tier 2, tier 3 nation, their scrubs are still going to be all right, because that's a fundamental, especially a nation like USA where their sporting world is based on strength, dynamism, kind of those sort of tangibles. Yeah, they're going to be good at that. They're going to be good at shoving, because that's basically like one of the bits of American football that they're probably trying to use on their side of thing of the O-line or the D-line, whatever it is.
Well, that's the whole theory of getting the US into the sport, isn't it? That there's so many athletes who could fit into it so effectively. Now, whether they'd want to drop down from a potential multi-million-pound contract or multi-million-dollar contract in, say, the NFL or the NBA, to then, earn maybe $100,000 in rugby rather than, go and work in finance or something, who knows? But that's the theory.
It is a rapidly growing area in their college system. Like, they have got the draft system, like their college programs are becoming quite advanced. It'll be interesting to see whether by 2031 that bears any fruit, and also, not to kind of get ahead of myself, the US under-20s are going to be part of the under-20s World Cup going forward from next year, because they're expanding that to 16 teams from next year onwards, and there's four nations being invited, US being one of them. So interesting stuff ahead, and I'm glad they're doing things like that from World Rugby. But yes, the second point I want to ask you about, Rory, Tadhg. What's a guy got to do to get some serious minutes to show what he can do?
I just have to assume there is something we haven't thought of, or something we're not seeing as observers, along with, I would say 100% of other people I've talked to about Tadhg, that the England coaches have established. I don't know what it is. And you can't criticise it, given that they've won the tour 3-0 and not used him. So obviously, whatever Tadhg brings, they don't need.
Is he a victim of his versatility? Because he's basically doing what they're doing with Chandler Cunningham-South, but just like 12 months later?
Well, Chandler Cunningham-South has maybe just been earmarked to the same role, but they think he's going to be better at it in terms of what they want that role to be. Because what Tadhg has over everyone else is that speed, right? Yeah. That is the definite thing. Whatever intangibles you can say about rugby players, one thing we definitely know, Tadhg's the quickest one there.
Yeah,
and we know that because he's one of the quickest players in Bath.
Yeah,
so there's no way there's another. And there's no way there's another forward quicker. At least Cunningham-South's not quicker.
Yeah. And when we say players, we mean forwards and backs.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, it's been confirmed.
They've said that he's
the fastest, if not one of the fastest,
at Bath,
in the Bath squad. Full stop.
Yeah.
So that's his point of difference. Now, maybe what it is, the role that Cunningham-South / Tadhg would have in this team, top end speed just isn't the be all and end all for it. Because actually, that may be it, right? Top end speed is very good if you're going to have that player in the wide channels.
Yeah.
But if you're going to put Tom Curry in the wide channels for his jackal threat, and for his link play, maybe having Tadhg there with his speed is more of a luxury than a necessity.
Yeah, true. And I would say Cunningham-South did show up very well in this game. I thought he had one of his best games I'd seen him play in an England or a Harlequin shirt for about 6 months, I'd say.
Yeah, he looks fitter. He looks like he's enjoyed the environment. Some of the behind-the-scenes stuff I've seen with the England YouTube channel, which has some nice pieces of him training behind the scenes. He just seems quite relaxed in the environment. So you can't criticise Cunningham-South for getting a few caps on the tour. But my suspicion, and I'm only doing this because I've sort of worked backwards on what logic there could be, is that the player they want in the 6 shirt or in that role is one that is versatile enough to play 8, 6 and 5, which both Cunningham-South and Tadhg are, but is a physical close quarters ball carrier to support and take some of the load off, say, Tom Willis, or to bring that in if you're picking, say, Beirne.
Yeah.
And in that scenario, on size, Cunningham-South is the better option over Tadhg. Now, there'll be screams and cries across the country about what Tadhg can do. And as I say, I am a fan. I think he's a really good player. And he probably would have made my starting team against Argentina.
Yeah.
But he didn't. They still won both those tests. And Cunningham-South has been brilliant. Yeah. So ultimately, Borthwick comes out with the right call. It feels harsh on Tadhg, who I think's been brilliant all season and has got all the attributes to excel at international rugby. But for whatever reason, what he brings to the test team isn't what they want.
Be interesting to see how things go the years ahead, Rory, because he's still young as well. He's still got many years in the bank.
What's he, 25, 26?
Yeah. So he's still got a couple of cycles in him, should he wish to. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes on. But yeah, positive from an England perspective. England under 20s, though, Rory. Did you catch?
Less positive.
Did you catch the game against Australia under 20s?
Unfortunately, not. It was at the engagement. I've seen all the results. Some good, interesting results in the wider tournament. But that one sticks in the craw as
to concede.
It's an aberration, but 68-40 is an unusual scoreline in any kind of top end game.
Especially,
could you dissect it for us?
Yeah. In short, I feel that from the moment that England side didn't qualify for that semi-final to go for the final, there was this unseen, tangible motivation loss that it may just be deep down in the psyche that maybe they didn't twig. But at the breakdown and in all the 50-50s, the Australian heart was more in it than the English heart was on the day. And it just looked like we often talk about rugby being about passion and motivated, and like Australia looked like the team with the reason to win. England looked like the team that had kind of already packed their bags and were ready to head home. And it kind of shone through if some of the tries that were conceded, there was some pretty weak defending. I would say some of the Australian players were very, very impressive, and they showed why they were so good in the Under-20 Rugby Championship. And I think this Under-20 World Cup has shown the benefit of them setting that up, because it's only the second year they've had their version of the Under-20 World Championship to run in the background of the senior men. Something that the Six Nations has had for some time now. I think the fact that the Southern Hemisphere sides finished 1, 2 and 3 maybe shows that program's really going to start helping them out a lot more at this sort of level. Which,
does it expose at all? Given that Argentina obviously beat France.
Yeah.
Does it expose whether the under-20 sides in the Six Nations are either less cooked than we assumed, less prepared given what experience we thought they'd had, or maybe not as strong as we'd hoped? Where do you sit on the scale of how it reflects on the talent in that pool?
I think resources, I don't think can be an excuse, because I think certainly for England and France, they've got probably the best resources out of everyone there. I'm pretty sure the Southern Hemisphere under-20s championship happens closer to the under-20 World Cup, so perhaps there's an argument to say that they've had time together more recently. The England squad, for instance, there's quite a few changes from the Six Nations squad to the squad that went out to the World Cup. So obviously you've got to kind of reconnect and build new connections. But that is also always the case at this level, because your team changes every single year. As we're going to see next year, there is a significant number on the England side that this was their last time playing England under 20s, because they're no longer going to qualify because of their age. So with these tournaments, you do always have to take everything with a pinch of salt, because the generations, there'll be some nations where they're in a golden generation, like England was last year, where we won everything. I think it looks like certainly South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, they've got a good crop at this moment in time. I think that's more the reason for it than an undercooking or resource thing, because I think there's a number of players like from Italy, Georgia, that were really, really stood out for me. I just think that this year, South Africa, New Zealand and Australia just looked maybe a cut above. I think the number of players that England lost probably cost them. France, I don't think this is their strongest generation.
No, possibly not. Although I think there's still some good standout players.
Yeah, for sure.
What I'm wondering then, David, is does this suggest that the under-20s need more time together across a whole season? Say, for example, an autumn test series that mirrors the...
I wouldn't hate it. I know they do camps. And they play one-off fixtures. I think the main thing to be aware of at this age grade level is it can be quite mix and match. And if you do things through the season, there's going to be a number of players, say like Tuipulotu this year. He didn't play any of the warm-up games because he was reserve. He was the reserve hooker for Bath, so he was kept back, so he just in case Bath needed him. And there was a few players that didn't come into the camp until the very last moment because they're needed by their clubs. As you do things through the season, some of these players play in the Prem regularly or are needed in the squad for training. So having that availability, because the clubs are so driven to promote their homegrown talent, it makes it harder to have those camps. So if they did something like the Autumn Internationals and did it like the seniors, it makes perfect sense. Where it is at the moment, it's done by like camps and one-off fixtures where the teams just can't release their best players to this system. So that's one of the reasons why it doesn't quite work as well. I also think that perhaps this is an English thing. You look at all the other nations, maybe France is in the same boat as England, because the number of teams that are in their system. So you look at South Africa, there's like four teams that players come through. Australia, there's 4 teams that players come through. New Zealand's the same. Ireland, Wales, Scotland. A lot of them play together from a very, very young age, where England, they're dotted around 10, 11 academies. Sometimes they're elsewhere. You look at the South Africa team, the number of them that are in the Bulls Academy playing together week in, week out. You look at New Zealand, the number of them at the Crusaders or the Highlanders. Like, it's huge chunks of them that play together in their academy systems. So woe is us. We have too many clubs and opportunities. We have too many clubs and opportunities. I think in the long run, it serves us well because there's more. I think that's why we see a lot of our under-20s getting senior time with their teams, because we have more teams, there's more need. So I think it works in the long run. And I think in France, you'll probably see the same thing. That's why I just think for this crop, because South Africa, New Zealand, Australia have got a pretty good crop, and because they're playing together, they just looked a bit more cooked, let's say.
And look, we talked about it before, to be fair. Ultimately, the purpose of this tournament is to produce test match ready players for the senior men's side. It's not... If you can win the Under-20 World Cup, fantastic, and it's great, and you should shout about it forever. But it's not the ultimate goal of this setup. It's to produce test match players, and I still think that England squad has a few.
For sure,
a few coming through. More than a few.
Yeah.
I do think the South African Under-20s has several. Who are going to be? I would like to talk about how big Bathabeli Hlekani is.
Oh, he's a big guy.
He has got some arms on him.
He does. Yeah, he's a unit. So he's one. So I was gonna run through a couple of names that I think we're going to be familiar with, say, in 5 years' time. He's one of them.
Go on,
So from South Africa. So he's one of them. Hashim Peed's definitely another.
Yeah, phenomenal at 9.
He looks like he's going to be trouble. And I don't think he's going to be far off being trouble as well. He looks almost ready. Some of the more far-fetched ones. So Mikhail Shioshvili for Georgia had an unreal tournament. Highest try scorer, nearly the highest defenders beaten. He is unreal for Georgia. He's got another year at this age level as well, and he's in the Toulon Academy. So I'm expecting big things of him.
They only pick up the best Georgians, to be fair, the French.
They do. And if we're talking units, Enoch Opoku Gyamfi in the Bath Academy, played for Italy. He is ginormous.
So disruptive against the Welsh, they had to go and crash a local festival to relax afterwards. Not a great look for them.
No, not a great look for them. But he's some player. For Wales, Harry Beddle, he looks incredible. I think he's one to watch from a Welsh perspective. If you're looking at New Zealand and Australia, I think Sid Harvey for Australia looks handy, and Malachi Anasio, their centre, looks like a real handful. For New Zealand, Rico Simpson stood out all tournament, and Maloney Kunawave, their winger, looks pretty handy.
I quite like the look of Veanuku as well.
Yeah, they've got 2 good wingers there on their hands, I'd say.
2 good wingers there. Kunawave and Veanuku, Fijian heritage, possibly?
Well, for some reason, I think you might be right. I'm not certain.
I'm not suggesting that New Zealand schools go fishing in those waters, but they might.
There's a degree of closeness there, isn't there? So for England, so let's talk England. I think the players for me that really shone, Kepu Tuipulotu, absolutely.
We are going to bang that drum till he gets his cap, aren't we?
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be too far off, because I do think hooker's a potential position of a need that needs to be filled, especially when a couple of players retire.
Jamie George and Luke Cowan-Dickey probably won't go beyond the next World Cup if they get that far.
Yeah.
And then you're looking at who got Langdon, Algrave, Theo Dan, I suppose, as well.
Yeah.
But Theo Dan
didn't
struggled.
Shine, did he?
Didn't shine on. I mean, I think Theo Dan will still get there, but he's got some development to do. There's a definite opportunity for a young hooker to take a spot in that England side.
Yeah, and he looks ready. Well, not ready, but he looks like he will be ready for Test match rugby, in a not too distant future.
Just got to break into that Bath first team first.
Yeah,
difficult with Tom Dunn there. But
easier said than done.
Yeah,
Jack Bracken, very dangerous.
Really big fan of his. Big fan of Jack Bracken. I think he looks like, to me, he looks like Adam Radwan with an even greater skill set.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. So I'm really interested to see how he develops. Oddly enough, so he is at Saracens, who at the moment have an absolute stable of young English wingers. I don't know how they're going to balance out the expectations of playing them all, because they've got Angus Hall, they've got Tobias Elliott, got Jack Bracken, Noah Kalori.
Yeah.
They're all Saracens. They're all Saracens wingers, and they're all under 22, 21 years old.
They're all going to want game time sooner or later, aren't they?
They are. So interesting to see how that balances out. I think a player.
If I was in Champ Rugby, I would be. I'd be ringing up Mark McCord saying, "Who do you fancy sending on loan this year?"
Well, I can't remember who they're partnered up with, but I think they've got a couple. Is it Amptill?
Till, was it?
Yeah,
Amptill. Yeah.
I suspect Amptill to score a few bonus points this season, I'd say.
Yeah, Amptill, and I think Cambridge in that one.
I think you're right.
Rings a bell.
I think you're right. It is that area, isn't it?
What about some of the bigger units? Billy Seller, Olamide Shodake, obviously Januka Poku.
Those two, I think, are. I want to see them getting prem minutes this year. I think they need it to really kick on. Kane James, I think, is another one that needs prem minutes. I think he'll get Exeter. I think he's already been getting some, but he started the tournament like a whirlwind. This game wasn't one of his best, but it wasn't many players' best games, if I'm honest. It's just going to be really interesting with England under 20s because so many are graduating, as it will. I really have. It's a crystal ball at the moment what that team will look like this time next year. There's a number of players that I've got my eye on who I'm hoping will be stepping up to that level, who I think are high potential again. And I also think the back line is going to be particularly dangerous next year when you consider Tyler Affire's got another year at this level. Kalori, when he came on, he just the moment where he looked like a man amongst boys because of his size and his leap, his ability to jump in the air, his danger and his weapon at the kickoff. Like England used it well in the second half.
Your man at Quinn's, the young lad, young fullback.
Josh Bellamy.
Can we see him soon?
No, Sean Sharp.
Sean Sharp, yeah.
Sean Sharp. I'm hoping he'll be stepping up. Will Knight has only impressed when he's come in at centre.
He looked very exciting for me, and a Gloucester boy in that setup, I'm always going to be excited by. But I thought he looked a very classy operator at 12.
Yes, and I wonder whether we're going to see the battle in the 10 shirt between James Lineker and Hugh Shields. I'm intrigued. I think the backs are going to be really exciting. So you've got Lucas Friday who'll be coming back.
Yeah.
Johnny Wyman will still be there. He's got another year at this level. It's just the forwards. I've got a lot of question marks at the moment. I'm not certain which ones step up now or if it's a year too soon. And obviously a lot of them are graduating. But that's what I get excited about, just seeing. I roll on the Six Nations and see what that England under-20s is going to look like. They're going to want to react to this tournament because I don't think finishing 6th or 5th, whatever it is, 6th I think they finished, that is not where they would want it to have finished.
No, a disappointing tournament for England, but congratulations to Australia for a really good final performance and putting England to the sword. I'd also like to congratulate Argentina for overcoming one or two stickier moments earlier in the tour to beat France and come third.
Yeah,
massive. Obviously to South Africa for winning the tournament.
Yeah, absolutely
huge for them, and that is a very exciting lineup. Really looking forward to seeing them. Spain, a really exciting showing across tournament, nearly beating Ireland there.
Yes, I forgot. There's one player I wanted to highlight from Spain, Oriol Marciniak. Remember the name.
Marciniak. Every time I was able to watch Spain in this tournament, I thought they look like a team on the same trajectory as Argentina were, say,
10 years ago.
10 years ago, when they started playing a very expansive brand of rugby, and you're starting to see how that's kind of come together at the senior level for them.
Yeah.
I think the Spanish rugby's looking very exciting. Italian rugby, probably a disappointing tournament for them all in all, but some good performances, run some people very close, and obviously beat Wales at the end there. So, and again, for Italy, it's just about identifying 3 or 4 players who can step up, and they certainly have got a few there.
Yeah.
And Georgia and Scotland actually probably both reasonably happy with how the tournament's unfolded in the end.
Scotland will be glad to not be getting the wooden spoon, considering they were the new team on the block this time around, been getting promoted from the trophy. And Ireland have been saved by the fact they've expanded the tournament and there's going to be no relegation. Bizarre, considering Ireland's much lauded Leinster academy system that's the best in the world. For some reason, they just cannot get it to work at this level. They haven't done for some time.
Funny old world, isn't it?
Funny old world. But yeah, lots to look forward to. Now, Rory, was there anything in the DPRFR this week, or is El Presidente still on holiday?
Well, I am, and one of the things that El Presidente does on holiday is he likes to take in the culture. He likes to enjoy the artistry, the music, and there was one moment of pure artistry this weekend that I feel warrants DPRFR acknowledgement, and it was a fabulous left to right pass from Tadhg Furlong over the top, going out to Hugh Jones, Hugo Keane, forget who, but a fabulous bit of skill. So I'd like to invite Tadhg Furlong to curate the next exhibition at the DPRFR Home of Arts and Culture, which is known as the Old King's Head Pub. But he's invited to come and showcase his artistry, any medium he chooses, music, art, dance. I hear from stories of him in Vegas. He's some dancer. So we'd like to invite Tadhg Furlong to be our exhibitor extraordinaire this year at the DPRFR Home of Arts and Culture.
I'll ensure to get that invitation posted post-wit.
Thank you.
With great urgency. Now, Rory, final moments before we close the podcast. Bring up the jingle. to flag the end of episode 30. Any final words for the listener?
Joe Schmidt, pick the big hitters.
We've been Rucks, Mauls and Oval Balls. That was Rory's final thoughts, and it was actually quite good this time. We'll be back next week with some more rugby chat, but until then, make sure to follow us on our socials, and I hope you've enjoyed listening.
Bye.
Bye.